The message came on a Tuesday. It appeared on every computer screen at NASA without warning. The words were simple. We come in peace. We wish to meet. Dr. Olivia Martinez was drinking coffee when her screen changed. She nearly dropped her mug. For 20 years, she had studied the possibility of alien life. Now, proof sat before her eyes. "Someone get the director," she called out. Her voice sounded strangely calm despite her racing heart. Within hours, the world knew. An alien species called the Synax had sent the message. They were in our solar system, waiting just beyond Mars' orbit. They wanted to talk. The president appointed Olivia to lead the response team. She was the best xenobiologist in the country, maybe the world. Her job was to understand alien biology. Now she would meet actual aliens. "We need to be careful," said Lieutenant Greg Patterson. He was the military man assigned to the team. His job was to keep everyone safe. "We don't know what they want. If they wanted to hurt us, they could have done it without saying hello first," Olivia replied. She typed a simple message back to the aliens. "We welcome peaceful contact. How should we meet?" The answer came quickly. The Synax would send a small ship to the International Space Station in 1 month. 3 representatives would come aboard to meet 5 humans. Preparations moved quickly. Olivia selected her team. Herself, Greg, 2 linguists, and a physicist. They trained for every possible scenario. What if the aliens couldn't breathe our air? What if they carried dangerous germs? What if they had strange customs that might cause offense? The day before the meeting, Olivia received new information from the Synax. They sent images of themselves. They looked nothing like humans had imagined aliens might look. The Synax were crystalline beings, like walking gemstones. Their bodies glowed with inner light that changed colors as they moved. They had no mouths, no eyes that humans could recognize. They communicated through light patterns and vibrations. "They're beautiful," Olivia whispered as she studied the images. "They're alien," Greg reminded her. "Beautiful doesn't mean safe." When the day arrived, the team watched from the station's windows as the Synax ship approached. It was small and elegant, shaped like a teardrop made of silver glass. It connected to the station with a soft hum. The airlock opened. Light filled the corridor before the aliens appeared. 3 Synax floated into the station, each wearing what looked like a thin suit made of flowing liquid metal. The tallest one moved forward. Lights rippled across its surface in patterns of blue and gold. A translation device on its suit spoke with a gentle voice. "I am Lyrith, ambassador of the Synax Collective. We greet humanity with hope and curiosity." Olivia stepped forward. "I am Dr. Olivia Martinez of Earth. Welcome to our home." The meeting lasted 5 hours. The humans learned that the Synax had been watching Earth for decades. They had studied our broadcasts, our internet, our history. They came from a moon orbiting a gas giant in a star system 50 light-years away. "Why contact us now?" Greg asked, still suspicious. Lyrith's colors shifted to a deeper blue. "We have observed many species across the stars. Humans are unique. You feel so deeply. You create art that moves us. You fight wars that horrify us. You love with intensity we cannot fully understand." As the meeting ended, the humans and Synax agreed to continue talks. They would establish regular communication and plan future meetings. When the others left to prepare for departure, Lyrith approached Olivia privately. Its colors had dimmed to a soft purple. "There is a question I must ask," Lyrith said. "It troubles us greatly." "What is it?" Olivia asked. Lyrith's voice seemed to hold a note of sadness. "Why can't we ever touch humans? Our scientists have determined it would be problematic." Olivia didn't understand the question. "I don't know what you mean." "Perhaps in time, we will find an answer," Lyrith said. Its lights pulsed once, then faded. "Until then, we must remain apart, even as we grow closer." 3 weeks passed before the Synax ship returned to the International Space Station. This time, the whole world watched. News channels showed nothing else. Schools paused classes so children could witness history. Olivia felt her stomach tighten as the alien vessel approached. The silver teardrop ship moved with impossible grace, as if it weighed nothing at all. It locked into place with the station's new docking port, built specially for this moment. "Ready?" Greg asked, checking his tablet one last time. "As ready as anyone can be to formally meet aliens," Olivia replied with a nervous smile. Captain Allison Wright joined them in the airlock chamber. As commander of the station, she would officially welcome the visitors. Her uniform was crisp, her expression serious. "Remember the protocol," she said. "No sudden movements. No touching." They were very clear about maintaining physical distance. The inner door slid open. Light flooded the chamber as 3 Synax entered. Lyrith led the way, its crystalline body pulsing with blue and gold patterns. Behind came 2 smaller Synax, one glowing green, the other a soft purple. "Greetings, friends of Earth," Lyrith said through its translator. "May this meeting bring understanding between our worlds." "Welcome aboard the International Space Station," Captain Wright said. "We are honored by your presence." The meeting room had been prepared with special chairs for the Synax, designed to accommodate their unusual bodies. Olivia noticed how carefully the aliens maintained their distance, always keeping at least 6 feet between themselves and any human. Lyrith introduced its companions. "This is Ventry, our chief scientist," it said, indicating the green Synax. "And this is Morai, our cultural specialist." For hours, they talked. The Synax explained they came from a moon called Selenus that orbited a gas giant. Their world had no solid ground as humans understood it. Instead, they lived in floating crystal cities within a thick atmosphere. "Our biology is very different from yours," Ventry explained. Its voice through the translator sounded higher, more musical than Lyrith's. "We evolved in a high-pressure environment, rich in gases your kind would find poisonous." "Is that why you wear those suits?" Olivia asked. "Partly," Ventry answered. "Your atmosphere would not harm us immediately, but extended exposure would be uncomfortable. The suits also help us maintain our energy patterns." As the meeting continued, Olivia noticed something strange. Whenever a human moved closer to a Synax, even accidentally, the alien would shift away. Their movements were so smooth it almost seemed natural, but after the 5th time, she was certain it was deliberate. Near the end of the scheduled talks, Captain Wright stood to formally propose ongoing diplomatic relations. She approached Lyrith with her hand extended, a human gesture of agreement. "We look forward to learning from each other," she said. Lyrith's body flashed a sudden bright red. It moved backward so quickly it nearly tipped over its chair. The other Synax also pulsed red, their crystalline forms vibrating visibly. "Forgive me," Lyrith said after a moment, its colors slowly returning to blue. "We cannot. The physical contact. It is not possible." The room fell silent. Captain Wright lowered her hand, embarrassment clear on her face. "I apologize for the misunderstanding," she said. The meeting ended soon after. Both sides agreed to establish a permanent embassy on Earth where more extensive talks could take place. The Synax would send a larger delegation in 6 months. As the aliens prepared to leave, Olivia escorted Lyrith back to the airlock. Away from the others, she finally asked the question that had been bothering her. "Lyrith, why can't your people come near us? Is there something about humans that's dangerous to you?" The aliens' colors shifted to deep purple, a pattern Olivia had come to recognize as sadness. "It is not simple to explain," Lyrith said softly. "Your kind possesses something unique in all our explorations, something wonderful and terrible, something that makes physical closeness impossible." "What is it?" Olivia pressed. Lyrith's lights dimmed. "That is what we hope to understand through our continued relations. The answer may change both our peoples forever." With those cryptic words, Lyrith joined the other Synax and departed the station, leaving Olivia with more questions than answers. 6 months passed quickly. The world changed in that time. Children played with toy Synax that lit up. Movies and shows about aliens filled screens everywhere. Schools taught about the real aliens instead of made-up ones from old stories. The Synax Embassy opened in Denver, Colorado. The building was unlike any other in the city. It rose in a spiral of glass and strange metal that shimmered in sunlight. Special rooms inside had different air and pressure for the Synax to be comfortable without their suits. Kevin Parrish walked up to the embassy gates on a cool Monday morning. His heart beat fast. Today was his first day as lead human diplomat to the Synax. At 32, he was young for such an important job. "Welcome, Mr. Parrish," said a security guard. "They're waiting for you inside." The main hall was huge and filled with light. 20 Synax moved about, their crystal bodies glowing in different colors. Some wore the liquid metal suits for meetings with humans. Others went without suits in their special areas. Lirith floated forward to meet Kevin. "We are pleased you will work with us, Kevin Parrish," it said. Its translator voice sounded warmer than before. "Your record shows you are good at understanding others." "Thank you," Kevin said. "I'm honored to be here." In the weeks that followed, Kevin learned much about the Synax. They shared advanced medical knowledge that helped cure 3 human diseases. They taught humans how to make clean energy from simple materials. They showed interest in human art, music, and stories. But one thing never changed. The Synax always kept their distance from humans. Special paths in the embassy kept the species apart. Rooms had marked areas where each could stand safely. Passing objects between them happened through sliding trays, never hand to hand. One day, Kevin met with Thiler, a Synax scientist who studied Earth plants. They sat in a meeting room with a clear table between them. "Your wheat plant is fascinating," Thiler said, its body glowing orange with excitement. "It feeds so many of your people." "We've grown it for thousands of years," Kevin replied. Then he decided to ask the question everyone wondered about. "Thiler, may I ask something personal?" The Synax's glow dimmed slightly. "You may. Why can't your people come close to humans? Is it something about us that hurts you?" Thiler was silent for a long moment. Its colors shifted from orange to deep blue, then to a purple Kevin had never seen before. "It is not a secret," Thiler finally said, "but it is painful to discuss. Yes, direct contact with humans would harm us greatly." "How?" Kevin asked. "Is it germs? Our temperature?" "It is something more basic," Thiler said. "Something in your very nature. If I touched your hand, my body would begin to break apart. It would be like you jumping into strong acid." Kevin felt shock run through him. "That's terrible. But why? What causes it?" Before Thiler could answer, alarms began to sound throughout the embassy. Red lights flashed in the hallways. "Security alert," said a voice over speakers. "All personnel to safe zones." Through the window, Kevin saw people gathering outside the embassy gates. They carried signs and shouted angry words. One sign read "Earth First" in large red letters. "Who are they?" Thiler asked, its body pulsing with nervous yellow light. "Protesters," Kevin said grimly. "People who don't want aliens on Earth." The crowd grew larger by the minute. Some began pushing against the gates. Security officer Natalie Simmons rushed into the room. "Mr. Parrish, we need to move all Synax to the inner chambers immediately. The protest is turning violent." As they hurried Thiler away, Kevin looked back at the growing crowd. Their angry faces made him ashamed for his species. But he also wondered what it was about humans that could kill a Synax with a single touch. The question would have to wait. Right now, they needed to keep everyone safe. The protest ended without anyone getting hurt. Extra police came and made the angry people leave. But everyone at the embassy knew they would come back. The Earth First group was growing bigger every day. In a lab beneath the embassy, Dr. Eric Daniels looked through his microscope. He was studying tiny pieces of Synax material they had given him for research. The sample glowed faintly in the dish, like a piece of living crystal. "Anything new?" asked Natalie as she entered the lab. After the protest, security was tighter than ever. Maybe, Eric said, not looking up. I'm testing how the sample reacts to different things from Earth. Natalie leaned against the wall, careful not to get too close to the sample. Everyone knew the rules now. Nothing human should touch Synac's material directly. I've tried Earth, water and air, Eric continued. No reaction. I've tested plant material, animal cells, bacteria. Nothing happens. So what are you testing now? Natalie asked. Eric looked up, his face serious. Human cells. On the screen beside him, Natalie could see what the microscope showed. The glowing Synac's material was changing. Its perfect crystal structure was breaking apart, dissolving like sugar in hot water. It's dying, she whispered. Yes, Eric said. Something in human cells kills Synac's material on contact. But it's strange. Dead human cells don't cause this reaction. Only living ones. Meanwhile, Kevin was in his office watching news about Alan Nichols, the leader of Earth First. Nichols was speaking to a large crowd. These aliens are lying to us. Nichols shouted. They claim they want peace, but they won't even shake our hands. What are they hiding? The crowd cheered. Nichols continued. They take our jobs, use our resources, but stay separate from us. Are we not good enough to touch? Kevin turned off the screen, feeling sick. Nichols was twisting the truth to make people angry. He didn't understand the real reason the Synacs kept their distance. A soft chime announced a visitor. Vexura, a Synax engineer, entered the room. Its body glowed a calm green. I have been working on a protection system, Vexura said. Something that might allow safer interaction between our peoples. Like a better suit? Kevin asked. More advanced, Vexura explained. A field that could block whatever it is in humans that harms us. Kevin leaned forward, interested. Do you know what it is that hurts you? Vexura's colors shifted to blue. We have theories. Our scientists believe it is your bioelectric field. All living things have energy, but humans have something unique. Bioelectric field, like electricity in our bodies. Similar, but more complex, Vexura said. We believe it connects to your consciousness. Your awareness creates an energy pattern that disrupts our molecular structure. Kevin tried to understand. You mean our minds hurt you? Just by thinking. In simple terms, yes, Vexura said. It is why we can safely touch other Earth creatures. Animals have simpler consciousness. Plants have even less. But humans, its colors flickered to purple. Human minds shine like suns to us. Beautiful, but deadly. Before Kevin could ask more questions, his communication device buzzed. It was Dr. Daniels. Kevin, you need to see this, Eric said, his voice excited. I've confirmed why the Synacs can't touch us. It's our bioelectrical signature. Something about human consciousness creates a field that breaks down their molecular structure on contact. Vexura just told me the same thing, Kevin replied. Their scientists already knew. There's more, Eric said. I found something else. When I tested cells from different people, the reaction was different. Some human cells caused faster breakdown than others. What does that mean? Kevin asked. I don't know yet, Eric admitted, but I think it has something to do with emotions. Different emotional states might change how our energy affects them. After ending the call, Kevin looked at Vexura. We need to share this information with the public. It might help people understand. Vexura's colors darkened. Some might understand. Others will see it as weakness to exploit. Kevin feared Vexura was right, but keeping secrets was making things worse. They needed truth to fight the growing hatred. I'll talk to Lyrith, he decided. It's time everyone knew the facts. The news spread quickly. People learned why the Synacs couldn't touch humans. Many felt sorry for the aliens. Others didn't believe it. Some, like the Earth First group, said it was just another lie. 1 week after the truth came out, disaster struck. It was early morning when the alarm sounded at the embassy. Natalie was the first security officer to reach the main entrance. What she saw made her heart stop. Dozens of Earth First protesters had broken through the outer gate. They were inside the grounds now, rushing toward the building. "Lock down all Synax areas," she shouted into her radio. This is not a drill. Inside, Kevin was meeting with 3 Synax diplomats when the emergency lights began flashing. One of them, Xerix, turned a fearful yellow color. "What is happening?" Xerix asked. "We need to get you to the safe room," Kevin said, trying to stay calm. He could hear shouting outside the building now. "Follow me, quickly." They moved through the hallways toward the inner chambers. The embassy had been designed with emergency plans in mind. The central area had special doors that could seal off the Synax from any danger. But they were too late. As they turned a corner, 5 angry men appeared ahead of them. They wore Earth First symbols and carried metal pipes and clubs. "There they are," one man shouted. "Get them. Run back." Kevin yelled to the Synax. 2 of them turned and fled, but Xerix hesitated, confused by the sudden danger. The men rushed forward. Kevin stepped in front of Xerix, trying to block their path. "Stop. You don't understand what you're doing." One man swung his pipe. Kevin ducked, but the blow caught his shoulder. Pain shot through his arm. He fell against the wall, unable to stop the attackers from surrounding Xerix. "Let's see what happens when we touch one," said the leader of the group. He reached for the frightened alien. A gunshot echoed in the hallway. Everyone froze. Paul Murphy, one of the embassy guards, stood at the other end of the hall with his weapon drawn. "Step away from the alien," he shouted. The attackers turned toward this new threat. In the confusion, Kevin tried to pull Xerix to safety. But 2 men grabbed the Synax, their hands closing around its crystalline arms. Immediately, Xerix's body began to change. Cracks appeared where human skin touched the alien surface. Xerix made a high sound of pain, its color turning a deep red. "Stop, you're killing it," Kevin shouted. One of the attackers let go, his face showing shock at what was happening. But the leader held on tighter. "See, they are weak. They don't belong here." Paul rushed forward, trying to reach Xerix. Another attacker swung a club at him. Paul dodged and fired another warning shot. Then something unexpected happened. The leader of the group pulled out a gun of his own. He pointed it at Paul. Time seemed to slow down. Paul saw the gun. He saw Xerix suffering. He made a choice. Paul jumped forward, putting himself between the gun and Xerix. The shot rang out. Paul fell to the ground, blood spreading across his chest. The attackers stopped, suddenly afraid of what they had done. Security alarms blared louder. More guards would come soon. Xerix, though injured, moved to Paul's side. The human lay dying on the cold floor. "Why?" Xerix asked, its voice weak from pain. "Why did you do that?" Paul looked up at the alien, his breathing shallow. "Because it was right." In that moment, Xerix did something no Synax had ever done. It reached out and placed its crystalline hand on Paul's. Both of them knew what would happen. The touch would kill Xerix faster, but the alien didn't pull away. As more security forces arrived, they found Paul and Xerix together, the human's hand clasped in the alien's dissolving one. Both had sacrificed themselves for someone different, someone they barely knew. Nearby, a dropped phone was still recording. Soon, the whole world would witness what had happened here today. The video of Paul and Xerix changed everything. People around the world watched as a human and an alien both gave their lives for each other. The Earth First movement lost support overnight. Alan Nichols was arrested for planning the attack. 3 days after the tragedy, Dr. Olivia Martinez arrived at the Denver embassy. She had been working at a research center in Washington, but came as soon as she heard the news. The embassy was quiet now. Armed guards stood at every entrance. Inside, humans and Synax moved carefully, their grief hanging in the air like a heavy cloud. "Olivia, Kevin said when he saw her. His arm was in a sling from his injury. "Thank you for coming. How are things here?" she asked. Kevin looked tired. There were dark circles under his eyes. "Bad. The Synax are scared. Some want to leave Earth. Others want to stay and find a solution." "A solution to what?" "To the touch problem," Kevin explained. "They think if we can solve it, our species might truly understand each other." Kevin took Olivia to a new laboratory deep inside the embassy. Dr. Eric Daniels was there, working with Vexura and 4 other Synax scientists. "We've been studying the video," Eric said instead of greeting her. He pointed to a screen showing the moment Xerix touched Paul. Something unusual happened. Olivia watched carefully. "What am I looking for?" "Xerix began to dissolve, as expected," Eric said, "but much slower than our tests predicted. It should have broken apart immediately. Instead, it lasted nearly 30 seconds. "That doesn't make sense," Olivia said. Unless something was different about Paul at that moment," Vexura finished. Its colors shifted in a pattern Olivia hadn't seen before. "We believe it was his emotional state." The team explained their theory. Human consciousness created energy that harmed the Synax, but different emotional states changed that energy. Fear, anger, and stress made it more harmful. Calm, peace, and especially compassion seemed to reduce the effect. "Paul was dying," Kevin said softly, "but he was at peace with his choice. His mind wasn't fighting anymore." Olivia thought about this. So a human who is calm and compassionate might be less dangerous to touch. "That's our theory," Eric confirmed. "We're trying to build on that idea." The next day, Lyrith arrived from the Synax homeworld. As their lead ambassador, it had come to help during the crisis. Olivia met with it privately in the memorial garden created for Paul and Xerix. "I am sorry about your friend," Olivia said. Lyrith's colors were deep blue with streaks of purple. Xerix knew the risk. It chose connection over safety. "We did not know your kind would do the same for us." "Not all humans are like Paul," Olivia admitted, "but many are." "The question I asked long ago," Lyrith said, "about why we cannot touch humans. I think we are beginning to find the answer." "Dr. Daniels believes it's about emotions and consciousness," Olivia said. "Yes, your minds are different from any species we have met. Your thoughts have power. Your feelings create energy we can see but not understand. It is beautiful and dangerous." Olivia had an idea then, a risky one. "What if we try to work with that energy instead of against it?" "What do you mean?" Lyrith asked. "If certain emotional states are less harmful, maybe we can train humans to control those states, like meditation, but with a purpose." Lyrith's colors shifted to a cautious yellow. "It would be dangerous to test." "We need volunteers," Olivia said firmly. "People willing to try, and Synax willing to risk contact under controlled conditions." "Who would take such a risk after what happened?" Lyrith asked. Olivia looked at the memorial for Paul and Xerix, 2 beings from different worlds who had found common ground in the most basic value, caring for others more than themselves. "I'll do it," she said. "And I think I know a Synax who might help too." Lyrith's colors brightened. For the first time since arriving, it showed a flicker of hope. "Perhaps," it said, "there is a bridge to be built after all." It took 3 weeks to set up the experiment. Everyone worked day and night. The world watched and waited, hoping for good news after so much sadness. They built a special room in the embassy. The walls were lined with machines that could measure every tiny change in temperature, energy, and light. In the center stood 2 small platforms, 6 feet apart. "Are you sure about this?" Kevin asked Olivia. They stood outside the room on the final day of preparation. "No," she admitted, "but we have to try." The training had been difficult. Olivia spent hours each day learning to control her thoughts and feelings. She practiced meditation with masters from Tibet. She worked with doctors who taught her biofeedback, a way to control her body's signals. Lyrith had agreed to be the Synax volunteer. As the most experienced ambassador, it understood humans better than any of its kind. The day of the test arrived. News cameras were set up outside the embassy. The president spoke on television about hope and courage. Inside, the mood was both excited and afraid. Dr. Eric Daniels checked the equipment one last time. "The dampening field is ready," he said. "It should reduce the harmful energy by about 50%. The rest depends on you two." Vexura approached Lyrith before they began. The two Synax communicated in pulses of light too fast for humans to follow. Then Vexura placed something like a small crystal flower in Lyrith's hand. "A gift from Xerix's family," Vexura explained to the humans. "For courage." Olivia wore a simple white outfit, like clothing for yoga. No metal, no electronics that might interfere with the test. She had nothing in her hands. They entered the room from opposite sides. Olivia stood on one platform. Lyrith stood on the other, its body glowing a calm blue with tiny flecks of nervous yellow. "The dampening field is active," Eric said through a speaker. "Olivia, please begin your meditation routine." Olivia closed her eyes. She focused on her breathing, just as she had practiced. In, out, slow and steady. She thought about trees growing, rivers flowing, clouds drifting. Peaceful images to quiet her mind. Monitors around the room showed her heart rate slowing. Her brain waves changed to patterns associated with deep calm. "Good," Eric said. "Lyrith, are you ready to approach?" The alien's colors shifted to a steady purple. "I am ready." The next part of the plan was the hardest. Olivia had to maintain her calm state while aware of Lyrith moving toward her. Any spike of fear or excitement could make her energy harmful again. Lyrith moved slowly off its platform. 1 step, 2 steps. Its crystalline body made soft sounds like wind chimes as it moved. Olivia kept her eyes closed, focusing only on peace and acceptance. She pictured Paul and Xerix in her mind, their final moment of connection, despite knowing the cost. "Olivia," Eric's voice came again. "Lyrith is now 3 feet away. Your readings are still good. Remember your training." She took another deep breath. She thought of what Lyrith had told her about the Synax homeworld, how their cities floated in colorful clouds, how they sang with light instead of sound. She felt no fear, only wonder. 2 feet, Eric said, his voice tense. The air in the room seemed to hum with energy. Olivia could sense Lyrith now, even with her eyes closed. The alien had a presence like sunshine through stained glass. 1 foot. "Olivia, your heart rate is increasing. Find your center." She focused again. Calm. Peace. Acceptance. "Lyrith is now within touching distance," Eric said. "Final decision is yours." Olivia slowly opened her eyes. Lyrith stood before her, close enough that she could see the intricate patterns within its crystalline form. Beautiful and alien and somehow familiar. "Are you afraid?" she asked softly. "Yes," Lyrith answered, "but some things are worth fear." Very slowly, Olivia raised her hand, palm up. An invitation, not a demand. Just as slowly, Lyrith extended its own hand. The crystal fingers glittered in the light. Everyone watching held their breath. Their fingertips met. For one terrible moment, Lyrith's surface began to crack where they touched. A small sound of pain escaped the alien. Then something changed. The cracks stopped spreading. Lyrith's color shifted to a brilliant gold that no one had ever seen before. "It's working," Eric whispered in amazement. "They're touching." The contact lasted only 5 seconds before they separated, but it was enough. For the first time, human and Synax had touched without disaster. As they stepped apart, Lyrith's body pulsed with new colors. "It was like touching starlight," it said in wonder. 1 year passed since the first successful touch between human and Synax. The world had changed in ways no one could have imagined. A new memorial stood in the center of Denver, 2 hands reaching toward each other, one human, one crystalline. Beneath it, Words in both human language and Synac's light patterns told the story of Paul and Xerix. Kevin walked through the park surrounding the memorial. He still worked at the embassy, now as the head of human Synax relations. His arm had healed, though it sometimes ached when rain was coming. Natalie walked beside him. After the attack, she had redesigned all security systems at the embassy. Now other countries wanted her help with their own Synax buildings. "Hard to believe it's been a year," she said. Kevin nodded. "Sometimes it feels like yesterday. Other times, like another lifetime." They reached the memorial just as a tour group was leaving. Among them were both humans and Synax. The aliens wore new suits, thinner and more elegant than before. These suits contained miniature versions of the dampening field technology, allowing safer interaction. It wasn't perfect. The Synax still couldn't touch humans directly for more than a few seconds, but it was progress. Dr. Olivia Martinez was waiting for them at the memorial. After her successful experiment with Lyrith, she had become famous worldwide. Now she led the new Human-Alien Research Center at the university. "The president is coming tomorrow for the ceremony," she told them, "and the Synax High Council is sending 5 representatives." "Is Lyrith coming?" Kevin asked. Olivia smiled. "Already here. It's meeting with Dr. Daniels about the new training program." The program taught humans to control their bioelectric fields through mental techniques. It was hard work, but more people signed up every day. Those who completed it could interact more safely with the Synax. As they talked, a small Synax child approached the memorial with its parent. The child's body glowed a bright, curious yellow. Kevin had learned enough about Synax culture to know this was a very young one, perhaps only 10 Earth years old. The child studied the statue carefully, then looked up at its parent. They exchanged light patterns too fast for humans to understand. The parent noticed the humans watching and approached slowly, guiding its child. "Greetings," it said through its translator. "This one has questions about your memorial." "We're happy to answer," Olivia said warmly. The parent encouraged the child forward. "This is Milvex. It is learning about Earth history." The child's colors shifted to shy purple, then curious blue again. "Why did the human Paul help Xerix?" it asked in a small voice. They could not even touch each other. Kevin knelt down to be closer to the child's height, because he saw someone in danger and wanted to help. "That's what humans do at our best." "And why did Xerix touch Paul when it knew what would happen?" the child asked. Olivia answered this time. "Because sometimes connection is worth any price. Xerix wanted Paul to know he wasn't alone." The child considered this, its colors shifting thoughtfully. "Our teacher says humans are special. Your minds hurt us, but you also do things no other species does." "What things?" Natalie asked gently. "You make beautiful art that makes no sense. You risk yourselves for strangers. You keep trying even when something seems impossible." The child's colors brightened. "Our teacher says that's why the first bridge was so important." The first bridge was what everyone now called the moment Olivia and Lyrith had touched. It had changed everything. Later that evening, Lyrith joined them for dinner. They sat at a special table with a clear barrier down the middle. It allowed them to eat together safely while still seeing each other. "More Synax children are asking to visit Earth," Lyrith told them. "Your planet fascinates our young." "They're welcome here," Kevin said. "The more we learn about each other, the better." Lyrith's colors shifted to the now familiar gold of happiness. "Do you know what question started all of this? What I asked Dr. Martinez on that first day?" Olivia nodded. "You asked why you couldn't touch humans." "Yes," Lyrith said. "Now I would ask a different question." "What question?" Natalie asked. Lyrith's body glowed with a rainbow of colors as it answered. "I would ask, when will humans understand how special they truly are? In all our explorations of the stars, we have never found another species whose minds shine so brightly they can be felt across a room, whose emotions can both harm and heal, whose touch contains such power that we must approach it with both fear and wonder." Kevin thought about this. Maybe that's what we needed to learn from each other all along. Outside the window, the sun set over Denver. In the fading light, the memorial's hands, one human, one alien, reached toward each other.